Hi, James. Here's my 3 stories. One is called Throwing Frisbee. One is called Broken Arm Number 1, and one is called Broken Arm Number 2. I loved growing up on a farm, and we had a lot of wide open space at our house. And somewhere in the early 60s, when I was turning 8, 9, 10, the Frisbee was invented. Oh boy, and everybody had a Frisbee. I can remember many evenings after dinner and washing the dishes, we'd go out. I'd go out with my dad, and we would start to throw the Frisbee. And he stood on the sidewalk, and I would head toward the driveway. And if it was a really still evening with no wind or anything, we would try to set a Frisbee record, tossing it past the driveway and all the way to the pine trees. And sometimes we succeeded. I really liked that time with my dad, just him and me. We'd play and we'd chase and we'd laugh with that Frisbee. And when I think about it, it's pretty amazing he found the time to do that with me when I had 4 other brothers and sisters. Sometimes it's just those little things that count. Sometimes to make someone stay special, all you got to do is give them a little bit of your time and attention. Whose day can you brighten today? Then I'll tell you about Broken Arm Number 1. I was what they call a tomboy. I like to do things that boys usually did. And I was kind of daring and willing to try just about anything. And I really enjoyed playing with my big brother. So one day we were playing circus. And our imaginary tent was a big tree. And underneath the tree, the roots were sticking up through the ground. And there were several places where the roots were really high off the ground. And one of them was high enough that we could put a board across it. And it was like a teeter-totter. So we decided we were going to play circus. And since he was bigger than me, I stood on one end of the board. And then he was going to jump on the other end so that I would go flying up in the air and come back down on the board. Seemed simple enough, and I did. I went up, up, up. I felt like an acrobat. When I came down, I landed on my side, right on the tree root, and I felt pain in my arm. And when I looked, my arm had like a V shape in it, and it hurt. And we were both kind of scared. We thought we were really in trouble, so we ran into the barn and we sat in there for a while and tried to decide what we were going to do. And finally, I told my brother, I said, my arm does not look good or feel good. I think we need to show Grandma. So I did, and I was taken immediately to the doctor where my fracture was set in a cast that went all the way from my wrist up to my shoulder. I can't remember whether Grandma ever found out what really happened or if my brother got in trouble, but I do remember thinking my cast was kind of cool, and my friends would sign their name on the cast on my arm, and I was like collecting all their names. So that's number 1. And then Broken Arm Number 2. I was with my brother again. And this time, we both were over at our grandparents' house, but we needed to get over there, and only one of our bikes was working. I had a flat tire, I think, on my bike. So I rode on the back of his bike, sitting on the back, and he would pedal away. And we'd done that lots of times before. In fact, I had even sat on his handlebars, and we'd driven that way. So I would just stick my legs out and make sure that nothing got caught in the wheels, and away we'd go. Well, this time, riding to our grandparents' farm, we had to go down the big hill and back up. And as we were going up the hill, I slid off the back of the bike and landed on the road. And guess what? Another broken arm. So again, we walked to my grandparents' home, and I showed her my arm. I'm sure she wasn't very surprised. And once again, people were signing their names on my cast. And this year, my white cast went perfectly with my new Easter dress and my white shoes. So, accidents happen, and you got to take chances once in a while. You have to learn, what's worth the risk, but you got to take a risk once in a while, enjoy life, and be willing to accept the bumps and bruises that come along with it. Love you, James.